I have questions. Do you have questions? If so, you're in the right place. My name is KG. Welcome back to Dynamics of the Dollar, your go-to channel for mastering your money and building a brighter financial future. Today, we're going to be diving right into some of the internet's most frequently asked financial questions. Hopefully, we're going to provide you with some insightful answers and some practical tips. I'm going to be giving some of my personal opinion on some of these questions, so if any of these questions up here have ever crossed your mind, then stick around. Let's go ahead and start. If your goal is to save, then nothing will help you more than having a strategy and being disciplined. The strategy can be as simple as to start by making yourself a budget to track your income and expenses. Take a look at everything that you're spending money on currently, and then you may have to make some tough choices in order to reach a certain goal. If you haven't already, I have a free Excel sheet down in the description below, so go ahead and use it if you never had a budget before. So some of these cutbacks might be things like eating out less, maybe canceling a subscription service that you don't take advantage of often, but also just make sure that you use all of the automation features that your bank most likely offers. One of the things I love to do is that when it's payday is really just to pay yourself first. That really just has to be your main mindset if your goal is really that you want to save more. And of course, the most important thing here is if you have a goal in mind is just to be consistent. Doing this will show you really what's important to you. You know how they say actions speak louder than words? Well, in this case, if you showed me your expenses, I'll show you what really matters to you. Having a strategy will really just help you prioritize and show you what you can set aside. So I wouldn't say there's maybe a best way to pay off debt, but there is maybe a combination of strategies that you can use. If you haven't had a chance to watch my video on debt elimination, I'd suggest going to watch that one after this video. The main thing to really make the most effective way to pay off your debt is to make it your priority. That's step number one. If you really, really want to erase that cloud that's most likely looming over you, this has to be one of, if not the most important thing that you spend your money on. And it does, again, go back to having a strategy. Again, I have a couple of free resources down in the description in the form of some spreadsheets that I made. If you look on Google or YouTube, there are probably hundreds of thousands of different strategies of how to pay off debt. But this is one that I've personally used to eliminate my debt. I'll give you some real world examples here. So I was paying $200 a month towards my student loans. I was also paying $320 towards my car. I was only contributing $100 towards my credit, which by the way wasn't even making a dent. I was also paying off braces, and that accumulated to be around $160 per month. We also took out a loan for our first home, which came out to be around $200 a month as well. And lastly, I actually also purchased some very expensive pots and pans that I couldn't afford at the time, so I decided to pay them off monthly. That one was only about $80 a month. In total, when I added up all my debt, it was around $100,000 of debt. It was a lot. This was on top of my living expenses and just funding my lifestyle, but that's besides the point. This is how I paid it off. Typically what I would do is I would utilize any extra cash that came my way, and in most cases that was normally just a tax return. So when I got that tax return, I put that entirely towards my pots and pans. That lowered the amount of time that I need to pay them off by down to as little, I think it was 2 months. After I paid those off, I essentially used that $80 and put it towards my braces. So instead of pocketing that $80 and saying, hey, now I have $80, I actually now putting $240 towards my braces, which helped me finish that off about 8 months sooner than I would have otherwise. Then I stacked that $240 towards my car. See, you get the idea. By the time I was paying off the last debt, which were my credit cards, I was putting $1,060 per month towards that. I eventually, again, realigned my strategy here and made a few more adjustments to my lifestyle and budget, and managed to eliminate over $100,000 in just under 3 years. This method personally worked wonders for me. Let me know in the comments if you have a strategy or a method that worked for you. So this is one of those things that takes a lot of time and effort, but it's actually pretty achievable with the right approach. First thing you gotta do is check your credit score regularly for errors and disputing any inaccuracies you may find. Almost every bank offers a free soft check, but there are other apps like Borrowwell that also offer it. I'll quickly go through 5 things that really impact your score and what they mean. Number 1 is paying your bills in full and on time. This one is probably, it seems pretty self-explanatory. If you have a $100 phone bill that is due on the 10th, then pay $100 on the 10th. Number 2 is your credit utilization. Equifax recommends keeping your credit use between 0 and 30%. I like to keep it at 0. So in simple terms, if you have a credit card that allows you $1,000, you don't want to be owing more than $300. Again, personally, I like to keep it at 0. This way you avoid any interest fees. The third thing that affects your score is derogatory marks, which is a fancy way of saying you didn't fulfill your obligations. It's like if someone gave you a loan and said, you have to pay this back by Wednesday, and you don't. That's a derogatory mark. Number 4 is the average credit age. I learned this one personally the hard way, but the longer you have a credit account open while still using it, it's actually pretty good. So if you have a credit card for 10 years and you still use it and you pay it off in full every single month, that's a very good thing. And the 5th is your total amount of open accounts, actually. So the credit score lords like to see that you use a wide variety of credit accounts responsibly. This does not mean go out and apply for 100 credit cards. I personally use 3, and that's all I need. Once you understand these 5 concepts, your score will actually start to go up pretty quickly. And finally, just be patient and consistent. This is not an overnight thing. So this one is interesting for me. I'm what you would consider a late bloomer in investing. I'll keep the answer short, and I'll have a video coming out a little bit later about investing for beginners. I really believe that everyone should be investing their money and not just saving and holding. For those of you that might remember, if you think back to when you went to a convenience store as a kid with $1, you could buy a Freezy, maybe some sour keys, a bag of chips, and you'd probably still get 5 cents change. Now you're lucky if the store doesn't ask you for a $3 tip on the $2 bag of chips that you want. This is why you have to invest, even if it's a small amount every single time you get paid. You may hear this saying a lot, but time in the market is far better than timing the market. People have this misunderstanding or this misconception that investing is buy low and sell high. At times it could be that way, but it doesn't have to be. I'd recommend taking a look at your expenses, see where you can cut back on things that you may now consider to be unnecessary, and put that towards investing. Personally, if you're a beginner and real estate might be your thing, I don't know. I'd personally stick to one goal at a time. If real estate becomes something that you're become interested in later, then awesome. Both real estate and investing can be good investment options, but they have different risks. There's a few things to consider here when you're thinking of the money that you need when you retire. So things like your age, your income, the lifestyle, and the lifestyle you would want when you retire. A common rule of thumb is to aim for a retirement savings equal to 10 to 15 times your annual expenses. So if you spend $60,000 a year, then you want 10 to 15 times that. There are tons of retirement calculators out there. You could just Google retirement calculator to help you estimate your retirement needs based off of your desired retirement age, and again, your desired retirement lifestyle. And again, this is another reason why investing is so important. It's great to live in the now, but will your 65-year-old self thank you? It's something to think about. Okay, so I think it's important to be able to contribute to both of these. But a few years ago, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. So I'll explain it how I understand it and what the differences are. An RRSP, which stands for Registered Retirement Savings Plan, is money that is set aside for retirement and is not taxed when you put it into the account, but it's taxed when you take it out. It's also harder to take this money out as it is really set for retirement. A TFSA is your tax-free savings account and is taxed when you put the money into the account, but it's not taxed when you take it out. So we'll simplify it a little bit more. So when you get paid, you can look at your pay stub and you'll see all the tax deductions. In most cases, your company will take a portion of your gross pay before all the tax deductions and add it to your RRSP. And in some cases, you actually get a company match. Then you'll receive the rest of your pay after all the deductions and contribute some of that into your TFSA. This is more of a personal requirement. So again, RRSP is taxed before and TFSA is taxed after. Both are very important for when you retire because the savings from one account may not be enough to live the life that you want when it comes time to retirement. So look into having both if you can. There are also certain limits and contribution room that you have for both of the accounts. So make sure you check them out. Log into your CRA account if you don't know what they are. This is always a fun one to debate because most people who don't invest will always say, I don't have any money to invest. I know, because I was one of those people. The truth is, you actually don't need a large amount of money to start investing. You can buy fractions of stocks instead of whole stock. This option's been around for over 20 years, and I'm a little bit upset that I didn't take advantage of that sooner. Just a little bit upset. It's no big deal. But to answer the question is really, again, to look at your expenses and see what you can set aside for making room for investing. Are you sensing a bit of a theme? Just a little bit? Just a bit of a theme here. Check your spending. Use the free resources. There are a couple options that I personally used when I was a beginner. I used an app called Milo. I believe it's called Mocha now. And at the time, what I did was invested spare change. So basically, every time I spent with my card, it would round up to the nearest dollar and invest that change for me. It's pretty straightforward. So if I spent 90 cents, it would invest 10 cents for me. Out of sight, out of mind. So I did this for a few years, and I went to look at it after a couple of years, and I noticed that there was a couple $1,000s in there, which was a very nice surprise. This is a route that maybe I would recommend if you want to dip your toes into investing, but I'd eventually move away from it just because there's too many fees. Again, actually a lot of banks offer this as well, so that way it's directly into your bank. The other option that I use today is to auto invest. Every single time my pay stub comes in, I simply set up some automations, and a portion of that is automatically going into my investment account, and I just don't touch it. And let's be honest, you know when you get paid, you know. So set that automation on that day. You can set these automations to be as little as $20 a month if you want, but the main thing is that you start if you haven't already. You know, as they say, the best time to invest is yesterday, but the second best time to invest is today. All right, so that wraps up our exploration of some of the internet's most frequently asked financial questions. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. When I record these, I really like to try to picture myself talking to the younger version of myself. I'm very passionate about helping others and hopefully put you guys on the right path if you don't follow the mistakes that I made. Let me know if any of these questions resonate with you and if you like this style of video. Remember, the more knowledge you accumulate on this topic, the better off you're going to be with mastering your personal finance, and you'll have a brighter financial future. Next week, we're going to be talking about that you don't have to be a genius to be a millionaire. You really don't. So make sure you click that notification bell so that way you never miss an upload. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you found this video helpful, then please leave us a like. It helps more than you know, and it's free. And lastly, if I didn't address a question that maybe you had today, go ahead and toss it in the comments. I'll make sure to answer all of your questions. Let's continue to support each other on the path to financial freedom. Have a great Money Monday. Happy savings. Until next time.